Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi, I'm Chris Ferguson, and I'm your host of You've Championed Yourself. Who are you? This morning, um, I have an exciting guest. I'm really, really honored to have her. But I try to showcase, and it's always been my dream to showcase people who have taken their dreams or ideas and turned it into their reality, as they reach beyond their personal struggles, their pains, their traumas, their spiritual traumas. So many people give up and lose hope. There are so many who do walk through their obstacles and challenges, not knowing where it's going to take them. They trust themselves enough not to give up, to do the follow through in personal life, their career, and in relationships. These are the champions that I interview. This morning, I have former mayor of Bethlehem, Vera Baboun, and I'm in awe. I just have to say that because as a woman, so many women don't have the opportunities to be able to have the positions that she had. And I thank her and I honor her for being here this morning. So everybody, please welcome former mayor of Bethlehem, Vera
Hi,
Baboun.
good morning. Thank you,
Thank you
Kristen.
so much for being here. And
I'm honored.
I am also. I don't know, just to give you a little bit of background on me, I've been in law enforcement for 40 years. I have started in as a dispatcher at a police department, but then back in the 80s, women weren't correctional officers in a men's prison, and I was one of three. So I know what it's like to be in a male-dominant career and be successful at it. So I went from corrections, I moved to Florida. I was involved with gangs on the streets of Miami-Dade and Broward County, which is Fort Lauderdale area. And then I moved to an alternative school, and I was there for 15 years. I've always been drawn to the troubled youth because I was one myself.
Mm-hmm.
So this morning, but in this country, like we were talking before we got started, in this country, women don't hold positions in upper management versus the capita of population. It's very political. In our country, it's two parties. There's so much craziness going on, you just don't know what to trust anymore. And so I honor you for being a female, being a mayor of Bethlehem, Egypt, with all the dynamics that go with that, because spirituality and religion over there weighs in very, very, very heavy, as much as politics, as much as being a female. And I'd like to get your backstory of what made you decide to do that.
Thank you, Kristen, for this very important question. Actually, I'm a professor of literature, and I know very well that our stories is part and parcel of our identity at the individual level and the global level and the gender level. When we share stories, we share reality. And that's why I think to share my story is a kind of empowerment. First, for many women all around the world, for many Palestinian women, women in the Arab world, where patriarchy and masculinity is the master of all games.
Mm-hmm.
So I started my life in a very good family as the only daughter among three brothers, and I was the eldest. My father was a man who believed in the significance of giving very good education for his daughter, as well as my mother. So I found myself believing in a family that believes in me. And that was number one. This is very important. I discovered that I have a very beautiful voice to sing, but I was so afraid to sing among others. But my father used to insist. And one day he told me, Vera, it is your voice. And maybe today you don't understand what the word means, but in the future, you will discover the magic of this word. Actually, it took me time to discover the significance of my voice and my voice ownership. It didn't come from an easy place, actually. As I started my life as a young woman, I had my bachelor degree in English literature from Bethlehem University. And I got married in a very early age. I was 19 years old. Within 5 years, as you know, I'm from the Palestinian context, the first intifada took place. And I found that my husband was politically detained in the Israeli detentions, and he was sentenced for 3 years. And that was there was a mother of three then. And there my journey started, Kristen. And I had to have a choice to stay at home, rejecting the new reality, or accepting the new reality as the only breadwinner and the only parent at home for 3 children, where Amir, my elder, was only 5, and my youngest Nadine was only 2. And take the decision and the choice to champion over all the new challenges. And there started my journey, Kristen.
That's an amazing story. I'm one of 6 kids, and the Catholic Church told my mother when my father and mother got divorced back in a time here in this country, it wasn't acceptable.
Yeah.
And said, we'll help you. We'll help you take care of the children. And at 8 years old, I found myself in an orphanage, and my brothers and I had all been separated. So I understand the adversity, the abandonment, the being left out, the having to fight as a child just to exist. I didn't have a voice either. So I really, really, really relate to this on an emotional level.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. But I think I agree with you completely. It is your experiences in life that build your foundation on who you become. It builds your foundation on how you respond. That's why I was drawn to troubled youth. One of the men that in our country back in the 50s and 60s that was persecuted was Muhammad Ali. And he served time because he refused to follow the norms of the government and be drafted into the Vietnam War. He served 2 years in prison, where other men decided to leave the country and be deserters. They can now come back, but this man stood in his power and stood in him. And he was my childhood hero. So he was the voice when I didn't have a voice. So I understand when you said you were afraid. I was more than afraid. I was so angry. I didn't want to hurt anybody in my life because I was angry as a child. So with that, there's similarities, but there's different similarities because in your world, even here with organized religion, I don't practice organized religion. My father was Native American, so I practice the Native American. And so it's more considered here as spirituality instead of religion. So with that, it's most people don't understand the dynamics that it takes for a woman to step out in a man's world and become successful. Can you talk on that for me?
It is a journey. To be successful, it is a built-up process. I once read, you are not born a leader, you are built to become a leader. And thus, it is an opportunity for many, many women all around the world to build their experience, their character, their leadership capacities to become leaders. You don't need to be an exclusive political leader. You can be a leader in your own field. You can be a leader in your own family. The characteristics of the leader all can be summed in the capacity of creating change for the goodness of your own ambiance, your own community, and the world as well. And it needs a recognition.
Mhm.
It needs a recognition from your own self, from your own consciousness, before even the other can recognize you. And this is a very important part of how a woman can lead a journey of success. A second experience that I need to share with you, which has a very significant part in my life. I was 16 years old when I was attending the Mass, and I came back from school late. So I had to attend the afternoon Mass in the Nativity Church in St. Catherine. In my school bag, I had my diary, and usually it is always with me. In the sermon, part of the sermon, the priest said the following: blessings live in the womb of suffering.
Mhm.
Learn to give it a birth. To be honest with you, I didn't understand nothing from it, but I jotted down on my diary immediately. I like the tone of the word, of the sentence in Arabic, so I jotted down. I was only 16 years old, living beautifully, amazingly amidst my family, and still does not understand the meaning of the word suffering.
Mhm.
Until my journey of challenges started when I was 25 years old, after my husband was detained. I
Mhm.
started building up my new challenging experiences when in many instances they were a summary of a new journey of suffering. I was alone. Many
Mhm.
times I was lonely. I had to seek a new job, became a university lecturer for first year students, which added a new challenge that I need to progress. I need to start my graduate and postgraduate studies, but I have three children. So I had to take many decisions. I had to take many choices. I had to challenge myself, or else I cannot do it. And there you go. To be or not to be par excellence. But to be or
Mhm.
not to be, you have to encounter your own choices and accept your own challenges. But for me, I could understand and track the meaning of the word suffering because I used to visit my husband every 15 days in the Red Cross buses with my children. It was not only that, it was a real difficulty. And one
Mhm.
day it happened that I was sitting in my office and I saw the bunch of my diaries. I sat on the ground and I started reading and laughing. You know, it was a diary I started at 10. It's a collection and rereading until, Kristen, I read the statement in one of the diaries, diary number 8, and I saw it. Blessings
Mhm.
live in the womb of suffering. Try to give it a birth. And believe me, Kristen, from that moment, I started to see in my challenges and suffering a way to a blessing, a new journey, a new beginning, a reborn. And that was my real secret. I never rejected the challenge. I never rejected even these moments of suffering and difficulties because I knew that I can create out all of this a new change, a new blessing.
I I get that. I'm one of these anomalies, and I just to share with you, I had a near death experience at 4 because I drank some chemicals because I was hungry. I got underneath the sink. I'm probably that
Yeah.
child they had to make the childproof cabinet locks for. Um, at 15, I had a near death experience. I had cancer at 22. I had a head-on car collision,
Wow.
and in 2012, I had 2 pulmonary embolisms, 1 in each lung. So
Wow. I'm so
it
sorry,
has
Kristen.
well, when you say suffering and going through challenges and obstacles, I've run the course. And I literally just retired from my job of working with the youth in a behavioral program as a criminal profiler. Excuse me. As a criminal profiler, they're self-diagnosed sociopaths and psychopaths.
Wow.
So they couldn't figure out how I knew what they were going to do before they did it. So I was this woo-woo that they couldn't figure out. But it was knowledge, and it was experiences, and it was life obstacles, and it was choices, and it was all the things. I mean, I'm one of 6 kids. Well, there's 11 of us total now, but there was 6 of us then. And I'm one of 3 out of the 6 that has a home. I'm one of 2 that has a college degree. But all of this was choices. All of this was challenges. All of this was working full time, raising kids, having relationships, and having being a wife. So I understand all of that. But the one thing that interests me so much is that when you became the mayor of Bethlehem, how did you use your leadership to enhance life, humanity, enhance humanity?
Well, let me just, since it is a talk of how my experience was built up, I need to share how I decided to go for the elections and then to be elected as a mayor. Always, for women, it's a built up experience and the built up knowledge, as you said. As I continued my life, started lecturing at Bethlehem University, and in 1990, and I spent a lot of years pursuing my higher education at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And I became, my graduate studies were in American women literature and mainly the ethnic women literature. As I said, in every line, in every story, there is something to share, something to learn from, and the stories of others, they can be my own stories as well, and I can learn from them. So building up all this until 2007, where my husband passed away, and then I was a mother of 5 children. And I joined the Grace Research Network. It's a gender research network. And it was for my first time to understand men-women relationships in a very scientific, theoretical context. It helped me to understand the relations better and in a more informative way, since I had conducted my own field research as well. And I came to a better, more significant understanding of the concept of my voice and my choice. In 2010, I decided to leave academia, and it was ultimately my own decision after 20 years. I said, I need to change the road, and I took a road not taken before. I decided to go for elections as a member, but the elections then were canceled. 2012, I decided to go again, but not as a member, as number 1 in the block, as the mayor. And by the way, if I succeed, I have to know how I knew that I will be the first mayor ever, woman mayor in Bethlehem since 1872. Where the municipal councils, started in Bethlehem, in the city of Bethlehem. And I actually headed the Fatah bloc, the political Fatah bloc, and I won 9 seats out of 15, and I became the first woman mayor of the city of Bethlehem. Definitely, to be the mayor of Bethlehem, you have to be aware of the two very important entities of the city of Bethlehem. The first, the political entity of Bethlehem. And I'm not aware, Christine, if you know that Bethlehem lives real difficult political conditions and circumstances. You know that now there is a wall that separates Bethlehem from Jerusalem. More than, if we talk about the district, more than 70% of the district of Bethlehem is Area C. It means it is under the jurisdiction of the Israeli administration. In Bethlehem, actually, all the areas are A and B, which is under the Palestinian Authority, but part of it is under the Israeli administration jurisdiction. And that is a real challenge when it comes to development, when it comes to development of infrastructure, many complexities. The second, I'm the mayor of the city of the Nativity. Bethlehem as a global entity, where you need to bring that voice of Bethlehem, because Bethlehem has a message. Bethlehem is the place where the message of peace, love, and hope was born. And always, as I led the city, I always kept in my mind that Bethlehem is all about the peace or the message of peace, despite all the challenges we live in. Personally, I succeeded to have many international and global relations once the President Mahmoud Abbas. Remember, Vera, Bethlehem is the gate of Palestine to the world. And that is a big message. From the place of the nativity, the cradle of the nativity, the cradle of love, I always believe that Bethlehem can create a peace not only for my region, but Bethlehem can be the place and the message to the whole world. So I led it from this human perspective. I led it from this professional perspective as well. And mind you, politically, my family, my husband was a political detainee. So I understand and live the complexities of the political conflict in the area. I encountered a lot of challenges by the patriarchal context. Not many believed that I can lead the council adequately. Not from the city, actually. The city, many has elected me to gain 9 seats out of 15. But within the council members, and maybe some others, they always believed that the one who deserved to sit at the top of the table should be a man. And I tried all my best. I couldn't fail. I considered I have to be a story of success, not only for me, but for many women who watch, who listen, who track my journey. And that's why in my journey not taken before, since I was the first woman mayor, I was completely aware what Robert Frost said in his own poem. This is a journey where you encounter many difficulties, but you are the one to encounter the difficulties to enable others to follow. And that's why I was keen to encounter all the challenges for 5 years, because my story will be a story for other women to follow, to learn from, to own a voice that can say, yes, I want, or no, I don't want. Yes, I can, and I want to be there. And yes, Kristen, it's the story, it's the journey of to be or not to be for your own community and the world par excellence.
I thoroughly agree with that. But I also see it just like this. If I have love and light and peace in my heart, and I connect with you who have love and light and peace in your heart, and we spread the message of love, light, and peace, because when you see so much hate, when you see so much anger, when you see so much violence, it's a choice. You can either let it obsess and just take you over and blacken your heart, or you can say, that's not me. And this is why I did research Bethlehem before this conversation, so I would be a little more knowledgeable about it. But I didn't realize that you were Palestinian, and I understand that now even more because of I'm a history buff. I love history. I love understanding the past so that we can change the future and not have it occur again. And I'm very steep in my spirituality, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's my life. It's who I am. It's what I am. It's that journey that helps you stand there. And now that I've retired, I lived in a dual world. I couldn't speak my piece in law enforcement. But now that I've retired from my JOB, I'm in my JOY. And that's why I created this You've Championed Yourself, Who Are You podcast, so that I could interview the everyday person that goes on those journeys, that goes through the obstacles and walks through it with an open heart and love to become that beacon of light for humanity.
Thank you. That is the secret, the beacon of light for all humanity. And if we think of this sentence and few words, you can create a lot of change. The world that we live in, due to our choices at all levels, we are witnessing things that at least from the place of birth that I was raised in, was born in, which concentrates, which is built upon these three messages, I see the world really deteriorating so far from these three important messages. Think of the young people, the importance of keeping hope in their hearts. When I look at the youth in my Palestinian context, we are talking about a nation and Palestinian young people that the horizon, the future is not really clear.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to keep on healthy families, healthy individuals, at least the horizon should be tracked, the future should be at least known. And imagine, as a nation, you're living in a place where truly your future is vague.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conflict place.
Mm-hmm.
There is no direct armed, different than Gaza, since I live in the West Bank. But as long as this conflict continues, the future is really dim and we don't know what takes place. So that's why, as a mayor, as a professor of literature, who spent 20 years at Bethlehem University working, teaching, advising young Palestinian students, I was really concerned of keeping the torch in their hearts, keeping the hope in their hearts. They can change the world, they can give the world, and they can take from the world. And that is very important message from Bethlehem. Number one. Number two, today, even the value of love among families, among communities, we are losing its typography and significance. And that is another message for me as a mayor, and again, as a human, as a woman. I know how much we can even address each other with that concept of respecting humanity out of equality and equity. Mm-hmm. We were born as brothers, and if we don't track the meaning of love for each one and for each other, there will be a problem. And that's what we see. Absence of peace. Peace is not merely a political peace, Kristen. Mm-mm. Peace, it can be in your own heart, mine, my own heart, my mind. We need to live this social peace, this individual peace, this political peace. And I was born in the place where the messages of peace, love, and hope was born. I walked in the streets of Bethlehem every day, and I'm still walking. So this is the opportunity for me as a mayor, not only to build and develop the city, But there was something very important as well.
Mm-hmm.
The messages. How many women in the world suffer from the absence of their own gender peace? How
Mm-hmm.
many women strive to keep hope in their hearts for the sake of their families and communities? And unfortunately, let me share with you, as a literature person, Mohaja Kaf is a Syrian American poetess. She once said, women speak two languages, the language of men and the language of silent suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Few women only speak a third language, the language of queens. They are compassionate, they are wise, they are courageous. And this is what we need from all women to master their own language, to master their own voices, to be wise, courageous, huh?
Mm-hmm.
and compassionate for their own communities and families. We give life, mind you, we raise life as well.
I love that because it is so true. And it's most in Native American tribes here in America, women were revered and honored. They were also chiefs of the tribes. They weren't the head chief, but they were a chief
That's
because
true.
they were in charge of the communities. And it's in this country, the family unity has just deteriorated. In this country, there's a lot of people who don't have support and guidance. So they're punting and they're listening to their friends who have no more knowledge than they do. And so the
Wow.
youth is going through such a transition in this country that I I remember a lot of things going on in this world, but now as an adult and researching back, it was all controlled. It was all political. It was all um, strategies and moves and different political issues and underlying stuff. And I had family members that I've lost to wars, and they were drafted. They didn't have a choice. So they served their country, and then to find out it was all started because an entity in this country wanted the opioids over in North Korea and South Korea. It was all about drugs. So it was crazy. And that's an Freedom of Information Act that I founded in this country. But it took 35 years after the Vietnam War ended to find out this information and how it actually started. But in losing so many people for a political reason like that is so far from compassion, so far from understanding, and so far from humanity. It's not funny. But this has been going on with countries all over the planet for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in America, but in other countries. It's all about leveraging, and it's all about power. It's all about control. And when are we, and this is what I'm all about. I'm all about humanity. When are we going to get back to the people that are suffering? When are we going to get back to the people that we can help and hold in light and love, and be able to show them the compassion that they have hope, or they have dreams, and they have an expectancy that they know they're going to have another day as long as they live their life in a way that's loving. So I understand the dynamics, but it's still, as a woman, it breaks my heart to see people get hurt in the name of politics.
You know, my nation, we are collectively suffering from a very from denial. You know, when you are denied your rights to be, your rights in equity, equality, liberty, uh, free mobility, this injustice creates a lot of deleterious feelings which affects our youth.
Mm-hmm.
All around the world, this can be witnessed in a different criteria maybe, or in a different experience. And that's why I say war is a choice and peace is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Both are choices. When we recognize each other within the spectrum of equity and equality, the spectrum of humanity as humans, we can win a lot. On the contrary, What creates all what we witness from the states of war is the choices or choices. They are choices that our governments. And this is another very important question today. Many of our young people, Kristen, they are living the world from the laptop they are living. They are taking all their knowledge, feed their information from a screen,
Yes.
cyber screen,
Mm-hmm.
which in many instances does not reflect the reality.
Correct.
And that is another challenge for us. If the family, within the concept of respect, support, we will lose a lot in the future to be.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this is another creditable challenge within the global context that we live in.
Yes. Yes. I agree wholeheartedly. And that was why when you agreed to come on, I thought I need to ask that question. I need to pose that question. And you were so eloquently wise in your response. And that's the message I'm trying to get out. It is a choice. Everything in life is a choice.
Everything in life. But we have to build up our children to be
Yes.
capable to have
Yes.
the best choices.
Yes. Here in this country, there's a lot of educational facilities that are not, they're using the education for an doctrine of understanding, and it's censored also, just like the media. And so that is sad. That is sad. History of our country is being lost, and the stories of how people helped people is being lost. So it's who's writing the books is the question. Is it true? Is it accurate? Or is it a perspective from a tainted view or of understanding of life?
And true, this is the dichotomy between who owns the narrative and who writes the narrative.
Yes.
And that's why, Kristen, I really appreciate this kind of conversation together today. This exchange of experiences. You're living in a completely different part of the world, different civilization, with a different context, whether politically, socially, religiously. And I live in Bethlehem, in the Holy Land as well, right? From all this kind of a mutual human language that we try to share.
Yes.
In the mere end, who we are specifies our actions, and our actions specify who we are in the mere end. I'm a believer that my identity is a human first, and my work addresses the human context with all its segments. That's why I participated in building up a network of empowering Arab women in political participation. And we launched the network in Tunisia. I had different experiences in the Arab world and met many women, where women in the Arab world are hardly elected due to the fact of the tribal connection, the political faction connections. In many instances, it's not the matter of capacity, it's a matter of loyalty. And that is a very difficult equation that you need to understand very well. And women are not really integrated in the political context to understand better what is the difference between capacities and loyalties.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I visited different places in the Arab world, I could track that women have capacities and they are educated and they can conduct change and they can help to create a change that they really want to live. Because naturally speaking, normally speaking, we need to be the change that we want to live.
Yes.
And it is impossible to witness this if we do not conduct the change and be the change ourselves. And many women in the Arab world, when it comes to politics, they are selected and not elected. But the
Yes.
power of elections, the power of the voting is very effective when it comes to the decision-making process in your own community or in your country or among your people. And raising awareness, raising recognition, empowering the voices, giving them opportunities. It is important to note that women, at least in our Arab world, they do not have the financial means in order to pursue politics. They are not really in a better economic situation than men. And a woman, when she wants to be integrated and be part of politics, financial situation and economy and the financial situation for every woman can be a challenge and a risk. And that's why many women prefer not to go forth. So we need to support them. And so that's why many women, they prefer to go within the political faction dynamics. And that is good, like in your own country. You have the Republican, you have the Democrats, and you can see women here and there. And it's the whole support of the whole equation. But it's a real challenge for women, not only the financial capacity, the support as well, encountering the masculine, because I believe for us as women, power for a woman means capacity. For men, it means authority.
Yes.
And to give a woman your seat sometimes is really not accepted by men. And at
There's
least
the
I say
ego
it
you
from my
deal
own
with.
context.
Yeah, it's the ego, the male ego.
Apart from the ego.
Yes. You're right. It is. And there's a lot of men that don't have that ego, but it's more of a control issue. It's more of a power. It's I guess in our society here in this country, it's the ultimate power, the to be the head dog of the hill or the king of the mountain, the idea that that's a male dominant position. But my question to every person on the planet, what if I've known many female chiefs of their nations, of their tribal nations, and it didn't come from power. It came from compassion and understanding. It came from understanding the needs of the tribe versus the control of the tribe. And it was more successful under the compassion and empowerment, as you said before, instead of forced or pushed or dominated. I think is the word I want to use, dominated. And that's where people's belief or limited belief systems come in, that shows that females are the weaker in being than men. And that's totally the opposite, because being isn't just physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. And more women have to be more stronger, because they are the ones that hold the family unity together normally.
Definitely. And that's why we need the both men and see in each other a completion. We are there to complete, not to compete. In many instances, they may say, okay, competency is when we compete, it's better. But when it comes to the decision-making process, we need to complete each other. The dynamics of the world and the dynamics of life have changed. And that's why we need to look at it from another perspective, from the lenses of both. Women can create a change and men can create a change, definitely. But this bureaucracy of who can and who cannot, it needs a reshuffle. Women live the difficulties that men live. Women live the challenges that men live. Though they live it in a different type of experience, but they live it and they can be part of the solution
Mm-hmm.
They can be and they are part of the solution. Today, we cannot really go forward without having the mind, the heart, the capacities, the actions of men and women together. But
Mm-hmm.
most importantly, as I believe, women need to recognize that they can. In our
Yes.
Arab context, many do say, as the stereotypes say, we cannot. We
Yes.
are born as women, the family take carers. We are there for our children, and I don't say no. I've been a mother. I'm been the mother of 5 children. I pursued my education. I pursued my dream.
Yes.
Every woman has a dream,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the power that you need to uncover in your mind and heart in order to pursue your dream. My dream is different than yours.
Mm-hmm.
My dream is different than hers. But every woman, exactly like every man, she has a dream.
Yes.
Unfortunately, our community fabrics, our relationships, our values, sometimes even our practices, our learnings, enforce that women do not recognize that they have a dream and to pursue it.
Right. It's all about, I teach my clients about feminine value and worth. And if you don't
Mhm.
have that in yourself, it's hard to get that validation from the people outside of you. So you have to look at yourself and develop that relationship with you and start it there, because as you stand in your own essence, as you stand in your own
Sorry.
experiences, and it shows you that you're more valuable and worthy than anybody around you. And when you have that understanding and empowerment, most people and a lot of women second guess themselves because they don't have the confidence in their value and worth.
By the way, Kristen, women suffer from poverty.
Yeah, they do. I came
Women
from
suffer
poverty.
from poverty. Many women in the world suffer from poverty. And poverty weakens.
Hmm.
And if we ask the causes of this poverty, definitely we have many reasons, including conflicts, including the inequality in the world, including many, many reasons.
Right.
But the status of poverty that we really women suffer from really absentiates the voices of women from different parts of the world. And that's
Right.
why in 2000, when the UN recognized the Article 1325, the role of women in peace and security,
Right.
that was a very crucial article in the United Nations to be taken, but to be applied as well worldwide. Let us question now. Let us ask today, from till today, 2021, when it comes to women leaders who really are integrated in this peace, in this process of peace, of building peace, are they given the opportunity to be there as leaders? Not many. Not
No.
many.
No. Or their wages are not comparable with a male. They always start a
Definitely.
woman at a lower financial status than they would a man, even though the woman's more qualified in their resume and in their experiences and their education level and their knowledge in the background. They're still started at a lower wage. And so it's that mentality that has kept women from being able to step out and step up. So that's why I was thrilled when you agreed to do this interview. I was like, she's what every woman needs to hear. I just
Of
knew that in
course.
my soul. She's what every woman needs to hear. I don't
Thank
care
you.
what country you're in. I don't care your political background. I don't
Thank
care
you.
what your religious background is. It is the message of divine feminine that needs to be heard.
The divine feminine. That is so beautiful and that is so meaningful. And every woman should discover her own divinity and her own capacity. Yes. We were not born for nothing in this world. We were born for a reason, each one of us.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to love, women have more of a capacity to be givers than takers. And a lot of times that gets taken advantage of because they're left carrying the bag. I call it carrying the bag of humanity for children, for their spouses, for their jobs. A lot of people like you were a single mom. I was a single mom working a full-time job with a 2-year-old little girl, not knowing what was going on. So I get it. There's more of us in the world than not. And we struggled hard. We struggled with everything. So I love your message. I love that what you have done in humanity. And it is about connecting our corners of the world together on a feminine side. And I think that could create more peace than war.
Definitely. Personally, I believe, and this is, I need to say it, women give life. Thus, they know very well what it means to protect life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the role in the peace processes is very important. It stems from a different experience. In Palestine, the rate of literacy reaches to 95%. Everyone is educated. It's part and parcel of our national commitment to our nation.
Mm-hmm.
More than 70% of our young females have university degrees, but still they are not given the opportunity to break the glass ceiling.
Yes.
From the place where the decision process takes place.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not only in Palestine, even in Israel, even in the Arab region, even in your part of the world. We need a revolution for peaceful voices of women because we deserve to live peace global-wise.
Yes. Yes. It shouldn't be about, I understand the having ally agreements and I understand the political process of that, but it shouldn't be that I want to be your ally to take advantage of your country, or it shouldn't be I want to be your ally so that I can manipulate your system. It can be I'm here, I've got your back, run your country, you'll run your area as you see fit, and I'll support you with what I can. It shouldn't be I want to come. It's that empathy versus sympathy, where sympathy you say, oh, that's terrible, this is going on, this is terrible, that's this, let me do this, and this, and I've just taken your power away. But if I say, man, that's terrible what happened, how are you going to fix it? I've just now empowered you to think beyond the limiting belief system and look to see what the solution could possibly be. And I think if we get away from those two systems in life, as far as sympathy and taking over, or empowering and allowing you to do what you do that has been successful, and amplify that, that's the difference of peace.
It needs a bridging, dear Kristen. As a Palestinian living inside the wall, I know and understand very well what it means to separate people from each other and to build a wall, because wall separates.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wish that I don't see. Bridging is very important in order to create the peace. And when we say bridging, it's not necessarily and only physical. Bridging is mental. Bridging is vocal. Bridging is emotional. Bridging is contextual. Bridging is conceptual. And in order to be able to build a peace for the whole world, we need a peace, P-E-A-C-E, not P-I-E-C-E. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I said. That's the
And that
difference
is the
between,
role of women. Where are
yes.
they? In any part of the world, we need to bridge because our voices are voices of life
Mhm.
and not of the destruction of life.
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
my
I love
message to every woman listening to us, whether in the United States or in Israel or in Palestine or any part of the world. We need to bridge our voices because we all deserve life. We all deserve equity. We all deserve justice.
yes.
And I
Yes.
need to thank you, honestly, Kristen, for this very significant talk.
Well, I thank you, Vera, for being here. I thank you for your journey that you've walked. As hard as it was, you pushed through everything. And I honor that in you as a woman. I honor that in you as the individual you are. Um, hang on just 1 second and let me do my exit statement, and I'll bring you right back.
Thank you.
It takes a special kind of individual to dream their dreams, their thoughts and ideas, and turn it into reality. Vera has done just that. She stepped back past her fears, stayed the course, and had the courage to follow through to the end. Vera Baboun, you've championed yourself. Now we know who you've become. Thank you for sharing your ideas, your thoughts, and dreams with us here today.